you, Trade Farm, who is a PhD student from Hanoi University. And he's studying this that has to lead to PhD.
Good evening. Sorry, good afternoon. Today I'm very happy to present part of my process with my promoters here about preparing research teachers on the integration of technologies in body-based science integration. But mostly focused on the outcomes of the three case studies methods. So I will talk and start with some introduction about the teacher professional development on the integration of ICTs and some principles come up from that research questions, and also then the research approach. I use design-based research to talk about the participants of our course, the boundary condition in Amsterdam, and mostly focus on the results of our course. So let me start with the paper's classification of educational software, and I think the constructional tools are more suitable for embodied-based science integration, in which ICT serve as tools for constructing new knowledge and understanding. So from our context, we chose three main tools from coach learning environment. They are networking, video management, and modeling, and we introduce them to teachers for IBSE. And nowadays we encourage teachers to use lab and ICT in IBSE. But many literature, including Abraham Mueller, say that teachers are not really successful in using technologies in inquiry manner. So the challenges for teachers is how to turn the manipulation of equipment and software into manipulation of ideas. So we are developing a research board for teachers. So we have to keep in mind that the preparation of teachers for ICT use should be combined with the mind-zone inquiry and mini-making in classroom. So we also search for some criteria for an effective teacher education, and I found Gasky he suggested that the training session must be supplemented with the follow-up activities that provide feedback and coaching for variety of levels of teachers. Also, especially with technologies, Tunstall say as much hands-on experience as possible with technologies as opposed to lectures and demonstrations is critical. So, after the theory exploration, we find out some principles to design our own course for research teachers. First of all, we expect them to be aware of the possibilities of the tool, and then learn in depth on one tool by choice. Secondly, we expect teachers to fulfill a complete circle of designing, implementing, and evaluating an ICT at a lesson in classroom. And last but not least, that we apply the blended setting in which the teachers learn on their own models of time through the live session and the task in between the session with support materials and close supervision from teacher chairman. So that is a three design principle for us to develop our own course, and we have some research questions. The first question is more exactly similar with those other questions. It's about the faithful implementation and effectiveness of the course. In each case study, we even want to find some kind of common problems of teachers in learning to use and apply the ICT tools. And based on the answer of the two questions, we try to find some suggestion for the revision of the course setup, and then we can change the course setup and implement it in the next round of the course. So to deal with the question, we apply the approach, say, design page, in which we have design principle and we elaborate the principle to the course setup that interact with the boundary condition of the course in Amsterdam. And then we collect data on teacher learning process and teacher learning outcomes, find out some problems. We change the setup, and we have a second setup. We implement it again, and then collect data and revise it and implement it again. That is the optimization process in which we hope we can optimize the effectiveness and faithful implementation of our course in Amsterdam. So, let me talk a bit about the participants of our course in Amsterdam. Also from that, we determine some boundary conditions. We have finished 3 case studies with around 10 teachers, biology, physics, and the time intended for us is very limited, only 1 credit. And the teachers are very different in terms of many things. Firstly, the age, because in the Netherlands, many research teachers after graduate, they choose to work in some factory or some research institute, and at the age of 40, 50, they want to be a teacher, and then they attend the teacher education programs. For that reason, the age is very different. And also because of that reason, the background of teacher is also from that graduate from university to PhD even years in research experiences. On the other hand, however, most of research teachers are at the 3rd year of teaching, so they have little teaching experience. But because of the shortage of the science teacher in the Netherlands, they are hired as full-time teachers. So they are very busy among university course assignment, school tasks, and also the weekly preparation for teaching. So absolutely busy. And they are quite moderately familiar with data logging and less familiar with video measurement and modeling. They have quite good knowledge on IPSE, but very little classroom experience. So somehow I can say there are 3 things when I talk about the boundary condition in our Amsterdam course. Firstly, the time intended for teacher learning on this domain is very limited. The second is teacher backgrounds are very heterogeneous. So how we can design a course that adapts that kind of differences among teachers also with limited time condition. So we have design principle, we have boundary condition of the course and interact with each other, and then we have a course center. Our Amsterdam course takes place around 2 and 3 months, including 3 sessions and the task in between the sessions. And I say it is a learning scenario. So the main point here is, first of all, in the session 1, we encourage teachers to learn and to be aware of the possibilities of the ICT tools, and then they choose only one tool by choice to learn in depth. They use that tools to design the lesson plan, implement the lesson plan in one class, and then evaluating the result as a child. So they start from broad and then go deep and narrow to the core, to learn to use one tool to teach one lesson with one class, to really appreciate the use of ICT tools in the ICT. So that is the learning scenarios, and because we expect them to learn on their own most of the time, so we provide them the support materials for learning to use the tool and learning to apply. The thing for learning to use the tool is exactly the same thing everyone uses, because it is all developed in the context of established projects with the help of CMA. I say the most important thing is course activities at 3 level. And in our own course, we provide teachers some kind of form for the ICT IPSE lesson plan. Because they are research teachers, they need some scaffold to develop a lesson plan and to issue it. So let me introduce very fast about how the support material look like. So this is a tutorial activity which goes for teacher to learn how to use the tools. For instance, it is a video measurement activities of a pendulum. So this is a text instruction they can read and then they can follow. But for software, it's sometimes very hard to find where to click, where to put them, etc. So we also produce a lot of kind of tutorial videos. So for example, especially with the teacher with little experience with ICT can follow easily. And so the second kind of material is a form for teacher. As you can see here, we design a form for teacher to develop their own lesson plan with some blanks they have to fill in. For instance, what is the topic of the lesson, what is the objective. What is more important here is they have to fill out the blank that they have to think what will you do to make sure the lesson is measured. And they also have to prepare some example of teacher question which you ask while you are going around to stimulate measurement. And in the backpack also some kind of proposal activity of teacher and student in different phases of the lesson. Here's orientation, design of the experiment, execution, interpretation, and also some kind of conclusion at the end. So that is the whole picture of the teacher learning scenario and how we collect the data on teacher learning process and outcome. Wow, we use 4 kinds of instruments: questionnaires, observation, documents, and interview. But we mostly focus on practical teaching experience of teacher in the classroom with the ICT and ESE child. First of all, we ask the teacher submit us the lesson plan, and we review the lesson plan, give them some comment for them to improve it. And then we come to the class to observe their classroom activities. After they try out, we interview them to get their reflection on the child. So we try to use some kind of different methods, and then we can validate the data through triangulation methods. Well, after 2 years, 2013 and 2014, we carried out 4 case studies, and I'm proud to have enough, quite sufficient data to share to you today. I divided the data and result in 3 sessions. First of all, about the implementation of the course. Second, about some kind of problems of teachers in learning. And also some kind of conclusion about the revision of the course after each case study, aiming at a more effective teacher learning. Okay, first of all, we can conclude that all the content we plan for live session will cover and executed smoothly. And 80% of teachers can fulfill the complete circles. They can complete their child in the class. That is why we are quite content with that number because of some reason I will talk later. And we apply the blended setting. In blended setting, it's very important that teachers have to work on their own in the time in between the sessions. If they didn't work in this, we cannot achieve the goal of the course because we switch the focus of the course on the task in between the sessions. So they use 7 hours out of 28 hours of the course. I think it is quite reasonable number. And the blended setting with support materials contribute to these results. But what went wrong? Because we have 3 case studies, so we expect something. This might be wrong in the case study 1 and 2, and we hope we can minimize what was wrong in the case study 3. So it means we can have a quite good setup at the end. So furthermore, I say 20 teachers out of 34 could not try out their lesson before the session 2, because in the session I said before the session 3, but in the session 3, we aim for teachers to share their classroom experience. But they could not try out, so we have to assess the intended activity. And then after we have to follow their child after the course. But at least you can see here we already reduce the problem a bit. In case study 1, we have a 10 teacher who could not try out. In case study 2, we have 7, and we was quite happy. In case study 3, only 2 teachers who could not try out. And so the second problems of us is we show them on the table 3 tools, but we expect them to choose only 1 tool to learn in depth. That is the learning scenarios, but we cannot force them to do anything. So in case study 1 and 2, especially in the first session, they want to try to learn a new thing. For instance, modeling and video management is new for them, they want to learn. They're eager to learn. But when they have to apply the tool in the classroom, they met a lot of problems and they give up. They come back to the tool they are more familiar. That is cataloging with sensors. So we have to find some solution to seduce them to choose only 1 tool during the whole course. And in the case study 3, we are successful. And some minor things, so I should skip, but I think you can read it. Yeah, and what went wrong caused by some obstacle of the teacher try out in the classrooms, I can show you. Certainly, it's always the lack of equipment. Secondly, that is the room for the child in physical curriculum, also school agenda. In a few weeks between the second and the third session, we intended for the tryout, turned out to be too limited. As I said, reservist teachers in the lesson now, they are always busy and they always have good reason to say why they don't do that. So, yeah. So that I say they spend a few hours in between that we are quite content because they are quite busy. And in the school, teachers are not familiar with video management and modeling. So, students, sorry. So if teachers choose video management or modeling, they will face more problems in their own class. Well, so we will think of some factors influence on their motivation, also effort to fulfill the task because they have quite many obstacles. So I find out here 6 kind of factors. The most interesting I want to say here is email, because we have a course take place in 3 months, for instance, and we have only 3 sessions somewhere, and teachers are so easy to forget what they have to do to prepare for the next session, because the time from the session 1 to session 3 is long. So we have to prepare some emails somehow to remind them about the task, and when they have in mind about the task, they will do. Unless they will not do it. In the next session, they say, sorry, I'm busy with it and that. So I think on an implication, we can say it's email somehow. Yeah, I know, 2 minutes. And I have a talk about the implementation of the course is something. And now I talk about the effectiveness. I think after the course, teacher appreciates the benefits of the ICT tools. We collect that data by many ways, by questionnaire, by interview, by observation. But here I quote some of the reflection of my teachers, so you can look through it a bit. So, at the organic level, we think we require success to motivate teachers about the use of ICT. Yeah. And it is about the motivation level, because during the course we encourage them to choose only one tool to learn. On the other hand, we expect them to learn the 3 other tools by their own after the course. But if they don't have that kind of motivation, we was not success. But at the end, you see here, most of the teachers are quite motivated to learn on their own. But we have to do some follow-up research to check if they really learned. Well, about the familiarity with the course tool, this kind of figure quite similar to the Slovak case. So certainly it's quite basic result, but important. Yeah. Also, as Zulana introduced, her teachers newly developed coach activities in Amsterdam. We also have. In case study 1, we have 2 teachers who are advanced enough to develop new coach activities. Case study 2 also, but we are very happy that at the last case study, many teachers can develop their own activities with coach. So it means at the last case study, we achieve a little bit better results than the 2 former ones. So, this is the level of application of the ICT tools in the class. I show you some pictures of our teacher in Amsterdam to cheat with the coach tool. And in summary, teachers try out with the ICT IBS activity in different contexts, mostly in regular lesson, 15 minutes, with a whole class and with the course tool. Also, because of many obstacles in school, maybe they have to choose only a small group to spend a few hours in the afternoon with students only. Or they use the chance of the student project. As you may know, in the Netherlands, students have to do at least one project during their higher secondary school. And the level of inquiry were quite also different, but mostly they prefer and feel feasible to apply the ICT tools in guided inquiry in Amsterdam days. Well, and the second point about problems. And also I have problems in presentation because the time is off. So I say very fast. I see my boss in me. So, about I say there are 2 kinds of problems. It is the pedagogical problems, pedagogical content knowledge problems, in which teachers do not in addition to classroom management skill problems, they have the specific teacher in Amsterdam have problems of how to execute the lesson plan in class properly. So we found a gap between the intended inquiry activity and actual realized inquiry in the class. I say it's quite typical problem for pre-service teachers, and the technological content knowledge problems, TCP problems, in addition to how to use what kind of how to do things with coach technically, teacher also face the ICT science problems. I show you very fast 2 examples, 2 cases. To just one check for ICT concept problems. First of all, about Zapke, he does the experiment with resonance with a wide glass with 2 devices. And one device is coach, but he received 2 different results. The same phenomena, the same experiment, but with different sensor and interface system. And he collected different results. And he blamed maybe course contain some problems. And he struggled a lot in class. But the problem for him here is the resonant frequencies is around 800. But he said the sampling frequency is only 50. Or in this case, he didn't set anything because it's a default. So he could not get good result because the number of data is too limited to have good results. So it means in this way, teacher have to know some technical detail, but he also have to know some physics and to understand what he is doing. The second point here is this is a modeling activity of cooling down temperature of a cup of coffee cooling down, and it is a given activity for teachers. One teacher named Time, she wants to use this activity in class, but she thinks to teach students, she also have to understand the model. So she tried to recreate the model. Yeah. And she tried to copy everything she looked at the given model. But when she ran the model, she could not see the temperature change. And the first thing she checked is she checked every kind of constant. Room temperature, 30 degrees, okay. Initial temperature of a cup of coffee, okay. The specific heat capacity, mass of coffee, it's all okay. But why? Temperature doesn't change. She also looked back.
No losses.
Sorry, sir?
No losses.
No what?
Losses. You just there are no losses because here I believe all the heat accumulated in the carbon. You must have losses as radiation or conductivity.
It's too complicated. Now, because in these activities, it is the given activity we produce and we give to teacher as a success as an idea for modeling. So she tried to check everything should be exactly the same like that, and she doing well. But she didn't get the result. Okay. So I say here, the time, only 10 seconds. Because 10 seconds is a default time for modeling, of course. So she doesn't notice about that. And then in this case, only she changed 10 seconds to 1 hour, 3,600. And then, well, so it means in this case, teacher also should have some content knowledge to do the modeling, to learn modeling. Okay, so the last point, because we want to optimize the effectiveness and the faithful implementation of the board, so after each case study, we have to revise the board a bit and hope that we achieve the better outcome in the next course.
Keep this for the full paper also.
So, it is the last one. Sorry, it is the last one.
And we want to have time for the last presentation and some discussion.
Yeah. Let me 30 seconds. Okay, I won't talk much. So these are some revisions you can look to, and I have to say this works. Yeah, and it's exactly the last slide. So, this is a 3 case study I have introduced to you, and this is a case study through Susanna have brought to you. And it is the whole pictures of our business research. We try to test the application of the code in different branches, and by that way we hope we can validate the design principle in different contexts, also to try to find some optimal cost setup to different branches, and we hope that it could be useful and such a good implementation for teachers who want to teach teacher how to integrate technology in query-based science education. Thank you.